Here's an excerpt from a novel I'm working on. An international incident. My friends, as Roosevelt used to say. Again, I say, my friends, and add, although this is a novel, therefore a work of fiction, much is based on the author's life. The author is not to be confused with the narrator, of course, but as a narrator, I feel it my duty to tell you, my reader, that I speak for the author in the following narrative. When I was 10, I almost caused an international incident. In the photograph in the comments section, you will see Ile de Saint-Pierre, a cargo ship. In the comment below that, you will see a link to a description of this ship. You'll see it sailed between Nova Scotia and a pair of islands, Saint-Pierre at Miquelon. My memory is we boarded the Ile de Saint-Pierre in Nova Scotia. I imagine North Sydney, mentioned in the description, is in Nova Scotia, but I leave the research to you. I know this. The ship left dock in Canada, and sometime the next morning docked at Saint-Pierre. Saint-Pierre was and is a part of France. Do you see the prow of the ship in the picture? You would say the ship is of substantial, if not incredible, size. Now I don't know if it was on the way there or the way back, but the prow interested me. I wanted to see what the Atlantic looked like from the prow. While the Ile de Saint-Pierre was in motion, I'm not sure my curiosity would have been piqued of its own accord. After all, the Atlantic could be seen all around us from any part of the deck, or through any window, any time on the journey. But just before we sailed, the man whose idea it was that two families who knew each other well should travel to Saint-Pierre pointed to the ship's railings. Fred, he said, whatever you do, do not climb the railings. You could fall off. Don't go within 3 yards of the prow. A 10-year-old boy can do two things well: lie and violate the rules. The ship set sail on that yellow afternoon. I remember the yellow sun, the yellow clouds, and the yellow tablet my mother gave me. This will keep you from getting seasick, she said. I took the pill and instantly felt like throwing up. But I wanted to see the ship. My brothers and I walked around. We were especially taken with a little cargo hold, not because we had a shipping instinct or a fascination with spatial relations. We paused by the cargo hold because we heard cattle lowing. Frank mooed. Bob mooed. I mooed. The cows mooed back. A waiter from the snack bar walked by. We thought he'd yell at us. He went past us obliviously. We climbed a ladder or two. We heard the tooting of the ship's horn. This was a serious boat. Again, I can't remember if I did this on the way there or the way back, but I hated being confined to the snack bar where my parents occupied a bench and where we were to stay the night. It was a cargo ship after all. My parents and our friends were adventurous travelers. My mother even refused the captain's offer to let us all stay in his cabin. We had peanuts and soda. In the morning we had bacon, and I could even hold it down despite the rising burn at my throat from the anti-seasickness pill. One night, either the night there or the night back, my brother Frank and I listened and watched the sailors and a schoolmarmish woman singing shanties as an accordion played. Frank called her the organizer. She kept trying to steer the sailors toward particular songs. Frank detected French curse words. The marm would cover her face and then shoot a dirty look. Entre les étoiles, she'd say, and in English, do you know that one? I knew it. It was one of the prettiest songs from the singing nun. The nun on the LP sang, Entre les étoiles, the Lord has written your name, or in the stars, the Lord has written your name. I don't know French, but if that is not a piece of France, that wonderful lyric by a future suicide, I don't know France. The sea shanties were fun. The sailors were drinking beer, the school marm was getting shrill, the accordion crept into our pores. I slipped out of the snack bar. I put my hand on the railing. It was dark, in fact. I couldn't see stars. I could smell the Atlantic, thick with a seaweedy odor. I felt dehydrated from the spray which occasionally hit us throughout the trip. I went back to the snack bar. I didn't want to trip on anything on deck. Besides, that afternoon, I had looked down at the ocean from the very prow. Obscene sea shanties were nothing to me. The afternoon had been dark. The sun was not penetrating the clouds except in that headache-inducing way. I looked out as I walked forward. The thick air, the salt in my hair, the gray sea gave me a sense of leaden monotony. The rail at the side yielded as the deck curved up to a little shellacked rope. Looking behind me and seeing not a waiter or any other authority figure, and I'd already witnessed a waiter being yelled at by a burly hand from the kitchen, I stepped over that rope. I sat down on the very edge of the Ile de Saint-Pierre. I dangled my feet over the prow. I think I even let go of the rope for a second. I was in front of the rope, with nothing between me but the lip of the ship and the North Atlantic. The colorless gleams of the lusterless gray water alienated me. I did wonder what sort of action might occur if I were to slip into the sea. I felt certain the waiter would be questioned. I don't know in what way I crossed back over the border of that rope, but I have the feeling I went backward. My 2 feet were back on deck, and I walked toward the snack bar, past the cows, whom I no longer wanted to disturb. My brother had a name for another woman who was with us as the sailors sang sea shanties. She was an American woman with long blonde hair. She laughed an inward laugh, very loud. A man with her hugged her with his right arm. At the dirty words, he squeezed her like an accordion. Her inward laugh, making the Canadian schoolmarm jump, sounded like a reverse foghorn. "She's the laughing cow," Frank said to me, leaning in. I laughed and laughed on that rollicking simulacrum of terra firma, the Ile de Saint-Pierre.